Hi guys, it is Miss Holly and I am here for Groundhog Day Storytime. This book is called Groundhog's Day Off by Rob Perlman and it was illustrated by Brett Hellquist. Every year on one special day in February, Groundhog wakes up extra early. Crowds of people gather outside, locals, tourists, even the mayor. News reporters with large microphones and big shiny teeth are waiting. Every year they ask the groundhog the same thing. Are there going to be 6 more weeks of winter? Is spring around the corner? But the one thing they never ask Groundhog is about him. No, how are you feeling? No, have you seen any good movies lately? And no, do you like mushrooms on your pizza? Not even, who does your fur? Groundhog has more to offer than the forecast, but that's what happens year after year. Well, not this year. Dear people, I am a groundhog with feelings and things to say, but all you care about is the weather. So this year I'm going on vacation and you'll have to find someone new. Sincerely, Groundhog. P.S. I'm taking my shadow with me. Groundhog packed his robe, slippers, magazines, and shadow and headed for the spa. The townspeople didn't know what to do. The mayor thought long and hard and finally announced, "We're holding auditions for a new groundhog." Lots of animals wanted to try out for the role. Elephant was just too big. Ostrich got the whole thing backward, and Monkey was asked to leave after an unfortunate banana cream pie incident. Bat, owl, mole, and possum's schedules just didn't work out. Poor Puppy suffered from stage fright, and Sheldon, well, his shadow just wouldn't behave. "This is terrible," the mayor cried. "There's only one animal right for this job." Groundhog had been relaxing when he heard a news report. "Nobody has Groundhog's flair for the dramatic. Nobody can wake up as early as he does. No one," the mayor said, pausing. "No one is as special as Groundhog." Groundhog couldn't believe his ears. "They do think of me as more than just a weather vane." And with that, he threw on a towel and whistled for a taxi. "Take me home!" Groundhog tunneled under the stage and popped out of the hole. Ta-da! The audience stood and cheered. The reporters asked Groundhog all the questions he had hoped that they would always ask. Where did you go on your vacation? What team are you rooting for in the playoffs? Do you prefer chunky or smooth peanut butter? Is that your real fur? Will you do this for real tomorrow? Groundhog stopped signing autographs. "Tomorrow?" he said. The reporters nodded. "Tomorrow's Groundhog Day. You came back just in time." "Well then, no time to talk. I have to get to bed early." Next morning, Groundhog woke up extra early. He poured himself a cup of warm mint tea and poked out of his hole. And this time, the reporters asked him about much more than just the weather. "What would we do without you?" "Bagels or donuts? What would you do with $1 million? Seriously, is that your real fur?" "You like me, you really like me," Groundhog said with a huge smile. He finally felt like everyone cared about him, and he was very happy. That is, until he climbed back into his hole. Turned on the television and saw that the bunny had hopped away. Auditions would be held in the spring. That is the end. So I thought we could sing a song together about Groundhog Day. This song goes to the tune of I'm a Little Teapot, if you know that one. So I'm going to sing with my groundhog friend here. So let's get started. Oh, I'm a little groundhog, furry and brown. I pop my head out of my hole and look around. If I see my shadow, I go back down for 6 more weeks of winter underground. I'm a little groundhog, furry and brown. I pop my head out of my hole and look around. If I don't see my shadow, I'll stay out here and enjoy an early spring this year. I'm a little groundhog. This book is called Groundhog Day, and it's by Gail Gibbons. And this one is a nonfiction book, which means it is true facts about Groundhog Day, not made-up stories. Groundhog Day is celebrated on February 2nd. Some people believe that on this day of the year, watching groundhogs can help predict when spring will come. When will spring begin? The date of February 2nd is about in the middle of the winter. Old stories say that if a groundhog sees its shadow on this date, there will be about 6 more weeks of winter. Those stories also say if a groundhog doesn't see his shadow, spring will come early. Groundhog Day grew out of old customs and beliefs. Some ancient people celebrated a spring festival in early February. Many people cleaned their houses and the area where they lived, getting ready for a new beginning in the new spring season. Then, about 1,500 years ago, some people in Europe began lighting candles in the early spring for a new religious celebration. This practice coincided with the older observances that celebrated the end of winter and the beginning of spring. People had always thought that they could predict when spring would come by watching animals. They believed that if a hibernating animal awoke from its sleep in the beginning of February and saw its shadow, there would be several more weeks of winter. If the animal didn't see its shadow, spring would come soon. They watched animals such as hedgehogs, bears, and badgers. When Europeans were coming to North America, some settled in Pennsylvania. They brought with them the tradition of predicting spring by watching animals. Many groundhogs lived in this region. Groundhogs are animals that hibernate. It seemed logical to choose groundhogs to predict when spring would arrive. Early in February, people watched groundhogs to find out whether they did or didn't see their shadows. This custom became a yearly celebration in many places, including the town of Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. Then, in 1886, Clymer Fries wrote in the town newspaper that February 2nd would be called Groundhog Day. In Punxsutawney, the special groundhog is always called Punxsutawney Phil. There have been many Punxsutawney Phils. Every year on February 2nd, thousands of people show up at Gobbler's Knob just outside Punxsutawney to find out if Phil will see his shadow. High up on the stage, Phil is kept in a burrow under a fake tree stump. Town officials are also up on the stage. And at exactly 7:25 a.m., Phil is taken out of his burrow. Everyone cheers. If Phil sees his shadow, winter will be longer. If he doesn't see his shadow, spring will come sooner. The officials make it look as if Phil whispers to one of them whether or not he has seen his shadow. It's all pretend. Sometimes Phil is right, other times he is wrong. Lots of people think Groundhog Day is fun. So a groundhog is a furry rodent. It is a mammal that can weigh between 5 and 10 pounds, and it usually grows to be about 20 inches long and has a short tail and short legs. Many people think a groundhog is cute when it waddles around. Like other rodents such as mice, squirrels, and beavers, groundhogs have large front teeth that grow continuously. That means they don't stop growing ever. To help wear them down, groundhogs gnaw on, bite, and eat twigs and branches. Their diet also includes leaves, flowers, and berries. Groundhogs are found in parts of the United States and Canada. They live alone in burrows they dig out with their sharp, curved front claws. Some burrows can be as deep as 6 feet and spread out more than 30 feet. Since they are prey to many other animals, groundhogs stay close to home, usually near one of the entrances to their burrows. When outside of their burrows, they may sit up straight with their front paws held tightly against their chests, eating and watching for signs of danger. When danger is near, groundhogs make a sharp, high-pitched whistle to warn all the other groundhogs. Some of their natural enemies are wolves, foxes, and birds such as hawks. During the summer, groundhogs eat as much as they can to increase their body fat. In the fall, they go into their burrows and hibernate through the cold winter months. Throughout the winter, their fat provides nourishment to keep them alive. To save energy, their body temperature drops and their breathing and heart rate slow down. In some parts of the United States and Canada, groundhogs poke their tiny noses out of their burrows during February. This is about the middle of winter, if you remember. Male groundhogs look for female groundhogs around this time, and they mate. About 30 days later, the females give birth to their litters of tiny, blind kids. In the northern areas, all of this happens much later. For the first month, the mother groundhog takes very good care of their young. When the kits are about 1 month old, they open their eyes and begin to crawl about. When the young groundhogs are about 2 months old, they are able to leave their mothers and dig their own burrows. A new generation of groundhogs is ready to take care of itself. People enjoy Groundhog Day. Sometimes children draw pictures of groundhogs, have snacks, play games, such as shadow tag. People read stories to children about Groundhog Day. Punxsutawney Phil is the big star. People wait to find out whether or not Phil will see his shadow. But there are other famous groundhogs too. Often, gardeners and farmers think groundhogs are pests because they eat their vegetables. Other people think groundhogs are good at tilling the soil when they dig their burrows. Even though groundhogs are not native to every region, people all over the United States and Canada celebrate Groundhog Day. That's all there is to know about Groundhog Day. Now this one is called a finger play, and it is to the tune of Frere Jacques, but I'm going to use, instead of my fingers as a groundhog, I'm going to use my groundhog friend, of course. So, where is Groundhog? Where is Groundhog? Here I am, here I am. Shadows on a sunny day. Frightened groundhog crawls away. Winter will stay, winter will stay. Where is Groundhog? Where is Groundhog? Here I am, here I am. My oh my, a cloudy day. I will stay outside to play. Spring is near, spring is near. So now I figured we could read a book, and this book is called Go to Sleep, Groundhog, and it is by Judy Cox, and it was illustrated by Paul Meisel. Groundhog went to bed on Columbus Day, just like he always did. He brushed his teeth. He put on his jammies. He set his clock for February 2nd. Then he curled up in his warm, cozy bed. He closed his eyes. He tossed and turned, but he couldn't get to sleep. Finally, he got out of bed. He peered at his clock. October. Groundhog poked his nose outside of his burrow. The moon was full. I'll just go for a little walk, he said. Maybe that will make me sleepy. Groundhog went outside. He saw things he'd never seen before. Raggedy scarecrows and grinning jack-o'-lanterns. Children dressed up like pirates, cowboys, and princesses. Halloween Witch flew down. "What are you doing up?" she said. "It's almost winter. You should be in bed." Witch flew Groundhog home on her broomstick. She tucked him in, and she read him a ghost story. She gave him a glass of apple cider. Groundhog curled up in his warm, cozy bed. He closed his eyes. He tossed and turned, but he couldn't get to sleep. Finally, he got out of bed. He peered at his clock. 5:30 November. He poked his nose outside his burrow. The leaves were red and yellow. "I'll just go for a little walk," he said. "Maybe that will make me sleepy." Groundhog went outside. He saw things he'd never seen before. Tall yellow corn shocks and round orange pumpkins. Turkeys gobbling in the barnyard. "What are you doing up?" Turkey said. "It's almost winter. You should be in bed, and I should be making myself scarce." Turkey took Groundhog home. He tucked him in. He read him a story about pilgrims. He gave him a slice of pumpkin pie. Groundhog curled up in his warm, cozy bed. He closed his eyes. He tossed and turned, but he could not get to sleep. Finally, he got out of bed. He peered at his clock. 5:30 December this time. Groundhog poked his nose outside of his burrow. Stars twinkled overhead. "I'll just go for a little walk," he said. "Maybe that will make me sleepy." Groundhog went outside. He saw things he'd never seen before. Colored lights glowing on houses, candles shining in windows, holly wreaths hanging in the doors. He heard sleigh bells chiming in the air. Santa flew down in his sleigh. "What are you doing up?" Santa said. "It's winter. You should be in bed." Santa took Groundhog home in his sleigh. He tucked him in. He read him a Christmas story. He gave him a glass of milk and a cookie. Groundhog curled up in his warm, cozy bed. He closed his eyes. He didn't toss, and he didn't turn. And soon he fell asleep. "Bring!" Groundhog opened one eye. "It can't be time to get up yet," he grumbled. "I just got to sleep." "Bring!" He peered at his clock. February 2nd. Groundhog yawned and stretched. He tumbled out of his burrow. Snow glittered on the ground. The sun was out. The sky was blue. Groundhog saw his shadow. "What am I doing up?" he said. "There are 6 more weeks of winter coming. I should be in bed." He hurried back inside. He ate a bedtime snack. He read himself a bedtime story. Then he tucked himself into his warm, cozy bed. He pulled up the covers, closed his eyes, and went to sleep. And that is the end of Go to Sleep, Groundhog. All right, that is it. That's the end of Groundhog Day story time. So thank you for coming to my story time and singing along and being silly with me. And if that didn't really do it for your moms and dads, we have Groundhog Day upstairs on DVD and Blu-ray. So happy Groundhog Day and bye-bye from Miss Holly.